All right, people, I need a go, no-go for the Geek News Central podcast. Digital archive recorders.
We're go fly.
Microphone.
We're go fly.
Video feed.
Go.
Web browser.
Go.
RSS data stream aggregator.
Go fly.
Interflux Toddism suppressor.
All right, I'm confused.
Host readiness check.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
The Geek News Central podcast is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to go. Cue Todd in
5,
Button, who's got the button?
4,
There is no cause for alarm.
3,
Everybody hold on to something.
2,
Just press the button.
1.
Showtime.
Welcome to episode 1151 of the Geek News Central podcast. It's Monday, October 3rd. This show is sponsored in part by GoDaddy.com and listeners just like you. Great deals from GoDaddy can be found at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. Support this show today at geeknewscentral.com/insider or just paypal.me/geeknews. You can always pick up Ohana gear at cafepress.com/Ohana store. Tonight we're going to talk about a possible SpaceX sabotage. We're going to talk about the Netflix inventory being down 50%. And of course, I can't believe I'm going to be talking about this, but we're going to be talking about the Kardashian robbery and social media. We're going to talk about Ford and their camouflage car, which is probably the coolest thing that I've seen today. Hey, I want to give a warm welcome to the new listeners. I want to give an absolute warm welcome to all of our longtime viewers. All those are their listeners as well. The Ohana of this podcast, the family of the podcast. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for staying subscribed. We got a great show lined up for you tonight. But for those of you that are brand new, what I want you to do is I want you to take just a few minutes. I want you to come over to geeknewscentral.com and basically get subscribed to the show. It's real easy. Right there in the right-hand column of the website, iTunes, Android, by email, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, you name it. We've got a flavor for everyone to get subscribed to this show. And if you're using an old-school podcatcher, you can just use the RSS feed. And more importantly, if you want to stay in touch and get the newsletter, and all the newsletter is a copy of the show notes that come off the blog post. And that will be delivered to you via email immediately following the show. You can just scroll down a little bit further on the website, and you'll find the link to the newsletter. Get signed up to the newsletter so that you do not miss a single episode of the show, and you stay abreast of what's happening here. Of course, if you want to reach out to me, it's real easy to do so. And let's see if I can get the screens right. You can email geeknews@gmail.com, and of course you can reach out on Twitter at geeknews, and of course feel free to join our Slack channel. Don't be slacking off. Send me an email at geeknews@gmail.com. Say I want to be on the Slack channel. I'll get you added. Just send me your Gmail account, or even just a throwaway Gmail. That's fine to use as well. It doesn't have to be your primary account. And, of course, you can follow me on Google Plus or on Facebook. Just search for the words Todd Cochran, and you'll find me. Friend me over there. That's important. Or plus me or put me in your circle over on Google Plus. And, of course, we want you to watch this show on the Roku via the Tech Podcast channel or on the Apple TV. You can listen on Amazon Echo by telling Alexa to play the latest edition of this podcast name. You can listen on Stitcher or watch or listen on Blueberry.com. Our partner shows include No Better Than Average with Jacob and Jeff, Health Tech Weekly with Jamie Davis, the Gadget Professor with Mr. Don Bain, the Pro Gears site with the GNC team, and my new Podcast Legends show, which I'm totally stoked about. I got to tell you guys, I did an interview with Dave Slusher of Evil Genius Chronicles. This was a great interview, but later in the same day, I interviewed Dawn and Drew from the Dawn and Drew show. Now, I'm just going to be straight up and tell you that the Dawn and Drew interview is one of the best I have ever done. And you guys are going to have if you're not a podcaster, if you're a listener, when I post this show next week, I'm going to let you know, but you're going to want to listen to it. It's not, is not necessarily child safe. Okay, just to let you know, all right, in advance. But it is a great interview with Dawn and Drew, and I just love those two. You guys will too. As a matter of fact, I'm going to lose some of you to their show, but no, it was great chatting with them for hour 10, hour 15 minutes, and Drew had even said, "I want to copy this audio so I can just use this as our latest episode, so it may get distributed twice, which would be really, really cool." But anyway, this show be this show. Hey, we want to thank our sponsor here, of course, GoDaddy.com. GoDaddy's been with us really since July of 2005, and I don't, GoDaddy will let me know in a couple of days what the grand totals were, but it looks to be, and I say this in full humility, we may break some records from last month. I just can't thank all of you enough for your ongoing support of the show, using and sharing the promo codes, linking to it, giving your friends the website information. Again, great deals continue at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. And, the October specials are essentially the September specials. They rolled over. But let me just say that you guys are saving a bunch of money. I mean, a ton of money based upon what I'm seeing in the orders coming through, using the 30% off codes, using the 99cent.coms, and I'm getting some complaints. People saying, "I tried it," but I said, "Did you use it before?" And yes, so it's a one-time deal. You get to burn that code once. And so the 99cent.com is not something you can use on a regular basis. But the 1-month free trial of GoDaddy Website Builder and the $1 a month economy hosting, $1 a month managed WordPress, all coming with a free domain for the first year. Those codes are rocking it. And I'm just absolutely jazzed that you're using them. And it's my pleasure. You notice on the website, we've even got some new graphics. I actually like the graphics that were there a little bit before, but they changed up some branding, so that's what we're running right now. So it is what it is. I they keep the lights on here, keep my family fed, keep the car full of gas and insurance done. That's what it's really all about, and it's just because of all of you, and very, very humbled. So again, I don't have the grand totals in front of me, but just based on everything I can see from my side, looks like October. It's just incredible. I was talking about this the other day to someone, and you guys don't know. Maybe you do realize how special this is, but they've been with this show since July of 2005. No other show has been sponsored to my knowledge, longer by the same company. And for us to have a record month, what appears to be a record month, in new customers coming on, it's just unheard of, to be honest with you. So big thanks to all of you that use the codes this month. I definitely appreciate it. I don't know how we'll see how October goes. It's just like I can't be more blown away, to be honest with you. So again, thanks GoDaddy for being a sponsor here. It's greatly appreciated that you, all of us, you guys knocked out of the ballpark in September. It really did. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Okay, so just a little bit of chit chat here before we get into the stack. I talked about this a little bit. If you guys were watching me on Facebook this morning, you already know. But I did want to share with you something that occurred this weekend. So Saturday, new media show's done. My son's got a soccer game. We're kind of like, we're lounging, not doing too much. Had some breakfast. Because I finished the new media show at 7:30 in the morning on a Saturday. So that's how insane I am about doing this whole podcasting bit. I get up at 5 a.m. on a Saturday to do a show. And, so, we're having some breakfast and you get ready to go. And it's almost like lunchtime. And get in the car and hit the starter and it goes, vroom. It started. But it was like one of those moments where you're like, hold your breath and you just keep the hammer down on the starter because you got one shot at it. So I'm starting looking around the car. Did somebody leave some dome lights on? Or, and this is unusual. And I'm thinking, oh, man, I bet I got a bad cell in this battery, because in Hawaii the heat is such that the batteries typically, if I could have made it back to the dealer and gotten because of this battery had a Mazda battery in it, I'd have got a free replacement because it's less than like 3 years, right? But I got to go to the soccer game, so I'm thinking, okay, this thing's I'm gonna be good. And then just in the backside of my head before I backed out of the driveway, went in the garage and I found the jumper cables that I haven't had in the vehicle in years. And drove to the soccer game, parked, shut it off, tried to start it, and of course, it was done, right there, done. Okay, well, all right, let's go do the soccer thing, and I'll get a jump. No big deal. Got the jumper cables, and I parked strategically in case I needed to jump. And third quarter, my son gets hurt. And I got him laying on the ground, iced up his ankle and stuff, and the coach is thinking he's got a pulled muscle, ripped muscle. It's just got that kind of an indication. It's got that symptom, and they're like, "Where's your car? You need to take him to the emergency room." And I'm like, "I need to jump first." So I'm looking like this jackass, and one of the fathers has to, help me get my car jumped because the game's still going on. He misses his son making a score, so I'm 2 points, down. Anyway, we get my son loaded up, and then I'm thinking, how am I going to the ER and park the car and then be able to get the car started later? I'm going to have to get a jump again. I'm like, no. So I called Choco. I said, because I knew she was working in the garage. I said, get a shower. I'm coming home to pick you up. We got to go to the ER with Chris. And she, did the dash, and I dashed home and picked her up, and off to the ER we went and got him checked in, and, we did the swap, and I took the car, and of course the battery, guys change car batteries. But, it was late in the day on Saturday and everything was closing, but the only thing that was open was a Firestone. And of course, Firestone, you're not going to sell you a battery. They're going to install it too, right? So what do? All right. You just suck it up and give them your credit card and, let them rob you. And I got an interstate battery at least, so that probably was the only good thing. And, that fixed it. And then about 15 minutes before the car's done, Choco calls me, says, because we were on Fort Shafter. There's an ER there on the Army base. And she says, we're walking to the exchange. Your son's hungry. I'm like, you're walking? He's okay. Nothing's wrong with him. Come get us. I'm like, you should have made him check it before we went in there. And, I'm getting beat up. So that was our Saturday afternoon and evening. Haven't had time to follow through on the assistant hiring. So that's still got that going. And thank you for the emails that have come in on that. One thing, I've already yacked here quite a little bit. I don't want to get into the show. But I want to talk just a little bit about talk about YouTube. And why do I want to talk about YouTube? On Sunday, I've been thinking, real hard about the whole gear mock-up for CES. And I knew last year there was a huge number of folks that went to DSLRs for shooting interviews. Now, I've got a 60D Canon here, and that 60D is not, it was really like one generation before really being able to do, a longer video. I think the limit on it's maybe 10 or 11 minutes or something like that. And the 70Ds have been out a while, and the 80Ds are just brand new. They're really nice. Well, they've been out maybe 4 or 5 months, maybe 6 months. And I've been just kind of going through, and I've been looking at the top YouTubers and seeing what camera gear they use. And there's a YouTuber that I fell in love with, and this is like a first, folks. I'm not a big YouTube watcher. This guy's got about 5 million followers, so he's really popular, does really good storyline, uses a variety of gear, different types of setups. It's a full-time job for this guy. He's shooting 4, 5, 6 hours a day in New York or wherever he's at, and then editing for 4 or 5 hours. He's got a tough job to do what he does to make ends meet. And I'm sure he does very well financially, and he ties in the family storyline, everything, just like the way he does it, because, he's not afraid to bring in the family and stuff going on, and it's a good deal. And so I'm just, watching, and this guy's video is, simply incredible. Really, really incredible. The clarity. And I'm thinking, man, what is he using for gear? And I did some searching around, and sure enough, he's using a 70D, Canon 70D. Pretty cheap lens, wide-angle lens, a $250 lens. And I'm thinking to myself, what have I got? And I went over and looked in my bag, and I didn't have the specific lens that he had, but I've got, 3 Canon lenses. And, anyone that's bought lenses, you guys know how expensive those are. And everyone today is not using their DSLR so much. They're using their phones. But he uses a combination of his phone and, so he's kind of got the right mix. And so I'm kind of reading down through his stuff. And I'm like, man, I got like 90% of the stuff he uses already. I just might need to upgrade to a 70 or maybe even an 80D. I'm trying to think, how much can I get for the 60D? So I'm going on eBay and looking at how much that cost, how much those are selling for. And I'm like, yeah, this might work. So, I've been thinking about, for 12 years, I've been shooting interviews, not here in the studio. We're going to continue to use the same cameras, and we would never switch to DSLRs in here. But for on the go, it just makes sense because I'm always carrying a still camera anyway. So I'm thinking, man, I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Although it's heavy to carry a DSLR, well, it's heavy to carry a regular camera. So I'm weighing the thought, and I put the items that I needed in the Amazon queue, and I looked at the price, and I was like, that's going to give me a few days to, to contemplate before I pull the trigger here. And then I'm also, thinking I can recover by selling the 60D, and my daughter's actually wants it, but she's not getting it for free, so I might sell it to her for a discount. But anyway, I'm just trying to, at this point, modernize the rig that I'm going to be using for CES, and thinking about things I can do to up the game. And that was part of my reason, too, was watching a bunch of YouTube videos to see what these guys are doing, how they're editing, how they're cutting, just to try to figure out some angles that will make a typical CES interview a little more entertaining. And I've got some ideas, and we'll see how it goes. I'm going to do some test stuff, but I always share with you guys what I'm doing. Been talking about it today with people on Facebook, and they've been giving me some hints. They said maybe I should go with the Sony versus the Canon. I'm thinking I'm already investing in Canon lenses. I don't want to necessarily do that. But anyway, long story short, Sunday was kind of my day to, including the 5 hours in the yard, was to, just kind of evaluate and see make some plans. I got the ability to do that this year because we're not spending all that extra cash. Not the 20. I'm essentially going to be $15,000 to the plus because I'm not doing this whole big live thing, and it's better. It's a little more budget to work with maybe on production. So, and I've gotten some emails from some of the listeners. One specific listener that talked about maybe wanting to help out in some way. Got to figure out. I got to reach back to him. He's on the East Coast. But other than that, that's what's going on here. So I'm sorry I've talked too long. I'm going to get into the tech now. So those of you that are new, this is what we do here. We chit-chat at the beginning of the show. Oh, and not only that, my daughter. Oh, boy. We're having some challenges. She decided to take one class less than she needed to. And she is now not a full-time student. So this came as a surprise about 2.5 hours ago when I opened the mail. So we're going to have that conversation. Ay. Kids, right? I gotta love her, though. She's working, but she should be going to school more. So we gotta have to deal with that. So anyway, hey, everyone's got a soap opera. Every family does. It's not all, chocolate and ice cream and strawberries here. And most of you are saying gross. That's disgusting. Okay, so let's get into the tech. And right into the first thing was there is a possibility that SpaceX isn't reportedly investigating sabotage as a case of the Falcon 9 explosion. Even to the point where SpaceX requested the roof of United Launch ULA, their launch site, which is a mile away. SpaceX asked for their roof to be inspected as part of the investigation. They're following up on what they say is something suspicious, and they are trying to tie in where they heard this quieter bang sound that happened a few seconds before the fireball. They're trying to figure out what the source of that quieter bang sound. Now, this is getting juicy. If you think about this, ULA refused SpaceX access to the roof, but they did allow the ULA cooperated with the Air Force's 45th Space Wing, and nothing associated with SpaceX accident was found. Now, you want to talk about some serious drama here. If it could be ever proven that ULA was responsible for the SpaceX explosion, holy crap. You're going to talk about, wow. Now, they're being very careful. They're being very careful. The ULA folks also being very A ULA spokesperson responded to Gizmo's request for comment in an email stating that ULA cooperated with the Air Force 45th Space Wing and nothing associated with the SpaceX accident was found. Elon Musk noted during his Martian colonization speech last week, SpaceX has already investigated all obvious possibilities. What remains are the less probable answers. So is that a hint that they think this is a inside job or an outside job that took out their spacecraft? Swift on Security, at Swift on Security on Twitter said, on September 9th, my pet conspiracy theory is SpaceX is asking for public audio video despite expensive on-pad recording to pinpoint a possible sniper. Followed up on 1 October by saying, SpaceX is looking for a sniper that shot the rocket, maybe from a nest atop a competitor's building. Can you imagine the absolute stuff that will hit the fan if there is a determination made that someone did sabotage the Falcon 9? Now, we're really going deep here. And again, this is all speculation, and this is what's being reported on Gizmodo. I don't think I'm even brave enough to point a finger at someone. And Gizmodo's being very careful, too. But it is true that ULA and SpaceX have had their share of spats, and the two are now directly competing for NASA contracts. And ULA took a little swipe at them after the explosion in one of their contract briefs. Now, shooting a rocket from a rooftop a mile away is not exactly discreet. Because, a bullet going in leaves a hole, and usually a bullet coming out leaves a bigger hole. So, anyway, it's getting curious. But I thought you guys would just love this. I'm just like, wow, this is some serious intrigue. More to follow, I am sure. All right, on less craziness, Apple Maps displays nationwide Amtrak train routes. So if you prefer to travel cross-country by rail, and I want to do this, the last time I traveled by rail, I was maybe 15 years old. That was an interesting trip. Takes me back to my child. I went from Battle Creek, Michigan to, somewhere in Missouri. So it wasn't a long, 4, 5, 6 hours. But it was the trip that, as a teenager, I think I fell in love for the first time. There was a girl on that trip that I still remember her name. I won't say it on the show. But anyway, it was with the, I might remember I was a country boy, right? So it was a 4-H trip. So lots of advisors, lots of chaperones. We actually stayed with families in Missouri. It was kind of an exchange thing. So we stayed with the families for a couple of weeks and did some stuff. So anyway, Shelbyville. Was it Shelbyville, Missouri, where we stayed? I don't remember. But anyway, long time ago. Remember the girl. All right. French are rolling out a new credit card. And how should you care? Well, what it does is, the 3-digit code in the back of all of our credit cards? Well, this one updates every hour for 3 years. So it's called a motion code. So essentially, every 3 hours, it updates. Now, I don't know how it does the syncing with the, but the main, the main credit card processing company must know what the matching code is through some sort of, matching algorithm. But anyway, every 3 hours it updates, or every hour. No, it changes. Every hour for 3 years, which is pretty cool. So it's an additional security level, including the chip card. So we'll see if this starts migrating or opening up. This is not necessarily new, but it is something that is being rolled out by some French banks. All right, Cox wants music group to pay for false copyright claims. Internet provider Cox Communications demanding $100,000 in compensation from Round Hill Music for the legal fees it incurred based on false copyright claims. The music group sued Cox last year over alleged infringement committed by the ISP subscribers without actually owning any of the copyrights in question. Of course, now Cox got hammered for $25 million by BMG, and but this. So the group, Round Hill Music, was part of the lawsuit that got thrown out a couple of weeks before the verdict because they were basically said, hey, you actually don't own the copyright, and this information you're requesting wasn't yours to request. So we'll see if Cox gets any cash or not. One thing that we always know that, American motor companies have had a huge, huge role in developing new vehicles for the armed service. The Army has went to Chevy, and they have asked them, or what they've done is they are developing for them something that is called the Chevrolet's Colorado ZH2 concept. It's a Army R&D machine. So this is a pretty crazy. It's a hydrogen, powered by hydrogen, and it's a one-off concept for the U.S. Army, built in conjunction with the U.S. Army Tank Automated Research Development and Engineering Center. Its goals are to prove the capabilities of hydrogen fuel cell technology in areas where the Army would operate. And this reporter from Roadshow, man, this guy's raving about this thing, and it's essentially a it's kind of got that same type of footprint as like a Humvee. It's 6.5 feet tall, 7 feet wide. It rides on 37-inch off-road tires, and the suspension's obviously been modified up. But anyway, this is just a single one-off R&D, but Chevy's built it for the Army, and at some point we might have a powered by hydrogen Humvee replacement, I guess. So very, very cool stuff. Link will be up in the show notes for you to check that out. All right. Netflix, as I talked about at the beginning of the show, is basically parsing down its catalog. Netflix, over the last couple of years, has removed 50% of its catalog to fund original content. So I think we all are enjoying the original content coming out of Netflix and Amazon Prime. But in 2012, there used to be close to 11,000 titles, movies, and TV shows available on Netflix. And according to some research companies, there are only now 5,300 titles available. So what they've done is they've reduced the number of titles that they've had to pay licensing fee for in order to be able to fund the original content. So that just gives you an idea, 5,000 less programs in order to produce more original content such as House of Cards, Orange is the New Black, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage. So there's, I think we all can appreciate at least one of those new series, and it may explain why I'm having to search more on other for more content to watch. But there's 13 new original Netflix coming out as well in 2016, so that's good. But anyway, link will be up in the show notes on this. You can check it out yourself. Autonomous driving is close. It's a lot closer than I think most of us really realize. But a quadriplegic driver has got the first autonomous car license. Now, Sam Schmidt is no ordinary race car driver. He suffered a devastating accident in a training that rendered him a quadriplegic in 2000. Now he's the first American to have been handed a driving license that permits him to use an autonomous vehicle on public highways, but it's not 100% autonomous. He's driving a modified Corvette Stingray Z06. Now, this is a classy ride, and obviously this guy likes to go fast, so he's got himself an autonomous vehicle that can go fast. So what he's got is it will respond to voice commands, and then he can speed up and slow down by puffing or sucking on a straw. He can the vehicle's handling is by shifting his head. There's a variety of things that they've got in there. It's not fully autonomous. It's kind of like an assist. So this is going to be interesting to see how this works out. I'd love to read more about the technology in this. They haven't talked too much about the tech. So, I wouldn't have expected the first vehicle to be a Corvette either that had gotten this type of licensing, but it is. So what a ride. So we'll see what happens. If we get more information on this, I'll share it with you. I'll have the link up in the show notes. But this is amazing. A quadriplegic being able to get out and go. Very incredible. So we'll see if we can get more info on it as we go. It appears this is switching gears here on the mobile side. I don't talk about mobile too much on the show, but Huawei apparently passed on a chance to produce Pixel phones, and I guess them and Google got into a bit of a spat. And there's a very long write-up about this. And, I don't think I've even seen a Huawei phone yet, to be honest with you. They're not available, I believe, on the Verizon network, according to this article. But they've been desperately trying to break into the U.S. market, and Google is kind of going to be that way. But they got into a little bit of a tuss over exactly where the phones would be distributed. So they're kind of out and out. So we'll, they'd done some stuff in 2015, but not this year. So, HTC ended up winning the contract, and the HTC phones I've tested recently are pretty nice. So at this point, Huawei's U.S. division hasn't gained significant market traction, and I don't know if they really blew it here with this little hustle with Google, but just goes to show you a little bit of politics at play in dev. All right, I'm not a Kardashian fan. All right, and these girls like to show their assets a lot, and I think most men in America are probably appreciative when they do, because they like to wear a lot of see-through clothes and that type of stuff. But this report about Kim Kardashian being bound and gagged in Paris on Sunday while being held at gunpoint by 5 armed men dressed as police officers should give people a little bit of pause. And here's the reason why. Now, it probably wasn't, and I just want to bring this up as a topic and not necessarily completely associate with them. It was well known that they had a permanent apartment or, in this particular hotel. It wasn't like she was checking in. This was their place that they owned in Paris. So, when you can afford to have a second place or third or fourth or fifth, it's probably pretty well known in the circles. But she had obviously $10 million in jewelry was stolen with her cell phones, and she got tied up and put in the tub. Now, there's an interesting story, I'm sure, in itself. But anyway, my wife sometimes cautions me on talking a little bit too much about travel and that kind of stuff. Makes her a little nervous sometimes because she's always concerned about security. And it kind of hit home to me a little bit that, I talk to you guys about things I'm doing, but oftentimes, we're all Ohana, but again, I don't know who all's listening to the show, right? So I think we all do this to a certain extent when we're maybe on Facebook, or if we're on Twitter or something, we're talking about where we're at. I used to worry about security in my hotel, and matter of fact, I often when say I'm in a city, but I wouldn't say which hotel I was in. I had one incident a number of years ago where I definitely appreciate the young lady coming to the room, but not at 3 o'clock in the morning. And that was many years ago, and from that point forward, I was be a little more careful about saying where I was at. But we all do this. We all talk about, we take selfies, and I often am. What intrigues me most about people taking selfies is not necessarily the selfie themselves, but what's in the background. And I see women doing this a lot more than guys. They're in their bedrooms, they're in their house, and you get a pretty good look of what is in people's homes by the selfies that they take. They don't, they really don't think too much what's in the background when they take the shot. And maybe guys do this too, so I don't want to be sexist here, but if you're taking pictures of yourself and you've got jewelry on and you're flashing your 3.5 million diamond ring, and it's going on Snapchat and on Twitter and on Facebook and everywhere else that these celebs put this stuff, they're just setting them, and we are setting ourselves up for trouble, right? I'm very sensitive here in the house about revealing camera locations. We went to a lot of trouble to install security, and I've always told the kids, don't take a picture where someone can see a security camera. I don't want people to know where the security cameras are at. And they have complied. It's one of the things that we've talked about here. So I think what we have here is, they're talking about an inside job and all this other stuff. But if you're flaunting what you have in your wealth and everything else and showing it off, and you're putting it on Instagram or you're putting it on Snapchat or wherever, doesn't take too long for the criminal element, especially on these high-profile cases like the Kardashians, how people follow them. People are nuts about them. They're like, man, let's go hit this place. We know that the husband is in the States doing a concert. It's public knowledge. She just got done, saying she's here. She's back at the hotel. Let's go rob her. And that's what they did. So, it could happen to any of us, really, right? So anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to share. I feel bad for her having be robbed of $10 million, but I absolutely guarantee they probably got that insured. Whether or not their insurance covers them while they're overseas, I don't know, but I would think so. If you have that kind of money and that kind of jewelry, you're definitely going to have it insured. It's a little obviously emotional, monetary loss and everything else. But, she walks away with her life. This could have turned out much, much worse. All right, Amazon is banning incentivized reviews tied to free or discounted products. I get all the time Amazon vendors, a lot. Matter of fact, I've got a review coming up from a light set that was sent to me by a vendor on Amazon. I'm not doing the review on Amazon. I'm going to be doing the review on Geek News Central with full disclosure. But Amazon is banning incentivized reviews tied to free or discounted products. No one's ever asked me to do a review on Amazon from a product that's been sent to me, but apparently a lot of people do. So the program, basically, Amazon's making significant changes to its community guidelines announced today, which will eliminate any incentivized reviews except for those that emerge from within its own Amazon Vine program. This program allows Amazon, not the seller or vendor, to identify trusted reviewers and has a number of controls in place in order to keep bias out of the review process. Amazon has historically prohibited compensation for reviews. I've never been paid for a review, even going so far as to sue the business who pay for fake reviews as well as the individuals who write them in an effort to make its review and rating system fair and more helpful to online shoppers. However, it has allowed businesses to offer products to customers in exchange for their honest review. Now, the only condition was that those reviewers have to review their affiliation with the business question in the text of their review. Reviewers are generally offered the product for free or at a discounted price in exchange for the review. Although in theory, these reviewers could write their true opinions on the product, positive or negative, these incentivized reviews have tended to be overwhelming bias in favor of the product being rated. I don't do the reviews on Amazon. I do the reviews on Geek News Central. So and the only time I do a review on Amazon is when I have paid for products. I just want to make that clear to this audience too. But so it's true. If you're going to get a product and they say, I want you to do an Amazon review, you want to get more stuff, you're going to continue to do positive reviews on Amazon. You're not necessarily going to do if you don't have to have it sit on your brand, like having me set the review on Geek News Central and then have you guys give me feedback saying, Todd, you said this product was great, but it sucks. I've got a product right now. I told the vendor, you want me to do the review? I give him the opportunity to not have me publish the review, especially when I get a product that is a little not as up to the task. And oftentimes, after I explain what my concerns are, they'll say, well, we'll just have you pass. I've done that before, not too many times. But, at least give the vendor the chance or the chance to fix something if I don't think something's right. But is that fair, to you guys? I assume so, because usually the products that I'm reviewing that don't pass muster would not be something probably you're going to be looking for anyway. And that's been the case at least 2 times. So, but anyway, interesting move by Amazon here. Probably a good one. Best Buy will pay a $3.8 million penalty for selling loads of recalled gear. Best Buy has agreed to pay, again, $3.8 million for knowingly selling and distributing 16 different recalled products from 2010 to 2015. Wow. Included a Toshiba satellite notebook computer, an ISI North American Twist and Sparkle beverage carbonation system, LG electronic gas dryers, GE dishwasher, Canon EOS Rebel T4i digital cameras, GE Profile front load washers, solder woodworking Gruga office chairs, LG Electronics electronic range, LG Electronics top loading washing machine, Samsonite dual wattage travel converters, Definitive Technology Super Cube 2000 subwoofers, Greed dehumidifiers, Frigidaire professional blenders, Schneider Electric AP surge arrest surge protectors, Kobe 32-inch flat-screen televisions, and a Whirlpool Gen Air wall oven. So if it sounds like anything you bought from Best Buy between 2010 and 2015, please take a look at this, okay? Those products were specific products within that mess was recalled. Okay. Sorry, I had to take a shot of H2O here. And I don't have a silence button. Hey, the Washington Post, and I'm usually not someone watching articles over on the Washington Post, have a pretty good hit article on miners in Congo who are digging mines by hand, who are basically going after cobalt. And cobalt is being used in our mobile devices. And a lot of the cobalt that is used, about 80%, comes out of the Congo. A smartphone has 5 to 10 grams of cobalt, a laptop as much as an ounce, and a typical electric car could have 10 to 20 pounds of cobalt within the batteries, within the lithium-ion batteries. And it talks conditions of how this cobalt's being come out in slave labor and children being used. Pretty good article, and I'll have that link up in the show notes for you guys to look at. But Chinese companies paying these people for the cobalt, and then the Chinese reselling that back to, companies in America and all over the world that are using that material that's coming out from this, these very, very poor people, and not earning a fair wage or anything like that, and safety conditions horrible, and health issues. It goes on and on and on. So, someone else pounding cobalt out of a shaft to power our phones is it's pretty sad. And I know a lot of that goes on throughout the world, but something the Washington Post did and brought light to it. Over on the register.co.uk, a little bit of an article that the Naval Research Laboratory did. I'm a big fan of U.S. Naval Research Laboratory. All of our national laboratories are in the United States are, how should I say this, have some of the brightest minds, biggest scientific thinkers in the country work at some of our national labs doing very cool stuff. And it's not always defense related, but it's, space, nuclear, you name it, the whole 9 yards, doing some very, very cool stuff. But anyway, they did a study, some undergraduates that were interns at U.S. Naval Research Laboratory, did a study on a simulation on what happens when a satellite gets destroyed, either through a man-caused or some sort of debris, and talks about the debris field and how it grows, and they basically shows what happens over 32 hours. There's that movie where, oh my God, Sandra Bullock's in it, where she's in space and all hell breaks loose, and it's just a mass event of debris tearing everything apart. It could happen. And this video demo, once you look at it, and if you watch the 2-minute video of how the debris spreads, it could show you what could really happen in a catastrophic event. All right, Toja's going to talk about the Ford vehicle that's camouflaged. Well, what they've done is they have a new car camouflage that's going to confuse cameras and really give you a headache. And let me bring this up so that those of you that are watching can see this. This is pretty incredible and pretty ingenious. They come up with a painting scheme that makes it very, very difficult to determine the lines and so let me bring this up. And for those of you that are watching, there's a headlight there and a tire, but you can't see the actual modeling of the vehicle. So they're going to be able to paint their vehicles like this and drive them on the test track without worries of being able to lose. Basically, what it's going to do is design is to maximize image file sizes, and it's going to help them protect their design work and get real-world measurements off their vehicles. So anyway, this is pretty awesome stuff. And I was just looking at the live stream. It's running about 3 minutes behind. That's bizarre on Facebook. Anyway, this design is very, very cool. And for those of you listening, you definitely want to check it out. Roku 4 owners, you can get an earn discount on new 4K Ultra Roku Ultra. You get $50 off. So if you own a Roku 4, again, you get $50 off on the new Roku Ultra. If you have a 4K television, this would be a good buy for you. Hey, Oakley has come up with a $450 smart sunglass that basically is a coach in your ear. It's basically got a Siri-like computer voice that talks to you. Tells you if you're on pace, your heartbeat. It gives you all kinds of information. And so basically it analyzes speed, cadence, distance, and time. It dynamically adjusts your training as you improve. According to the company, created a customized training program. And in the voice, you basically talk to your headset. The sunglasses respond and tell you if you're on pace or whatever it may be. So very, very cool. If you're a heavy trainer, this may be a worthy investment. The ICANN transfer has happened. A judge did not stop a last-minute desperation by a number of folks to try to stop the transfer. ICANN is now basically an international organization, no longer in control of it by the Commerce Department of the United States. So the Wired article basically kind of celebrates it. The internet finally belongs to everyone. I guess it all depends. If you think that the ICANN agreement was a good one, I think only time will tell at this point. Deal is done. Nothing we can do to go backwards. But the United States no longer controls the address book of the internet. So a collective group do. We'll see if there becomes any issues down the road. The Verge is turning 5 on November 1st, and they've got about 36 million people reading The Verge daily. That's amazing. Amazing number. And they've got like 70 people working for them. That's just wow. We break about, let me see here, anywhere between maybe 6 million loads a month. And I got this very, very small writing team. Very, very small. 36 million read The Verge. I'm talking about page loads. I'm not talking about 36 million people. That would be awesome. 36 million people, if we're listening to my podcast, that would be a good thing. It really, really would. Could only dream. All right, the MPAA has applauded the derailment of the CC cable box competition plan. Of course they would. The MPAA is pleased that the FCC is taking more time. We hope they use it to ensure any set-top box proposals remain consistent with copyright policy and avoids harming creators, said MPAA Chairman and CEO Senator Tris Dodd, who emphasized that his organization, along with virtually the entire creative community, is standing up for copyright and the rights of creators. We support the FCC's goals of promoting set-top box competition, but we continue to urge the Commission to forge a path that does not undermine the creative economy. Copyright employs more than 5.5 million U.S. workers and generates $1 trillion of economic value, incentivizing innovation and investment in creative works enjoyed by millions around the world. So the MPA, of course, they're gloating. Yoshiniro Oshima has won the Nobel Prize in Medicine for work on cells that eat themselves. It's called autophagy, or self-eating, and it plays a role in everything from aging to cancer. So many, many years, his 1990s work identified the genes that regulate the process and helped us understand how proteins build the membranes that enclose the cell parts sent off for recycling. So anyway, it's a big, he gets the Nobel Prize. along with some cash. I think he gets $100,000. And so congratulations to him for getting the Nobel Prize in Medicine. The EFF has asked courts to block the Department of Justice from prosecuting researchers for DMCA violations. Remember that the EFF went to court on basically someone that hasn't been prosecuted, but asking that the DOJ not prosecute the individual for the work he's doing, where the Department of Justice says we can't go to court because no one's actually been charged. And so anyway, this ends up being a big mess. I don't know how it's going to end up. But the DOJ's already said, let's dismiss this. And the EFF says, no, let's continue forward. But basically, they're trying to protect researchers who are doing research where they have to reverse engineer and effectively audit a computer security system and so forth. So they're just worried that researchers are trying to, do this good work are going to end up getting in trouble because of the current DMCA rules. But anyway, it's a back and forth right now with the Department of Justice and the EFF. We'll see where it turns out. It'll be good if the EFF prevails. But again, no one has actually been prosecuted, and that's the problem. Apple's going to automatically download Mac OS Sierra on Mac starting today. So if you've got enough space and have automatic downloads turned on, you may wake up tomorrow morning with the Mac OS Sierra ready to install. Let us know how that goes. We're going to wait a few days. Hackers have found little demand for their stolen NSA hacking tools. The shadow broker's auction for the hacking tools has so far generated little interest. The highest amount of money being bid so far is $918. Remember, they wanted $611 million? Yes, $918 million has been bid so far. They're at a point of desperation where they're almost begging people to bid. If you're a Windows Server administrator, there's a lot of positive things being said about Windows Server 2016 and how it could rattle some chains throughout the server industry. I'm not a Windows Server user. I barely can get myself around a Linux box. But they're saying that Windows Server 2016 is a pretty impressive beast. So if any IT guys are out there, I'd like to hear from you on this. All right. Okay, the Galaxy Note 7 is now flying off shelves now that it doesn't explode. They're selling, Samsung sold 30,000 units the first 2 days it's back on sale. A little over 10,000 phones a day is brisk business, especially following right on the heels of this of the biggest launch of the year from Apple. But 30,000 phones have sold. So if you're looking to get a Galaxy Note 7, it is a beautiful phone. You don't have to worry, and you get it now and it won't go boom, okay? Google Fiber is now fiber and wireless ISP. Google Fiber said today it has completed its acquisition of WebPass, a wireless internet provider that will figure prominently into its plans for deploying high-speed internet. But the Alphabet division is not giving up on fiber, saying it will use both wireless and fiber networks to compete against cable companies and telcos. So this is good, and they're going after the 70 to 80 gigahertz range. So that's what they're shooting for. They're trying to get the FCC ease some access into that spectrum so they can basically deploy more wireless with it. That 70, 80 gigahertz range is good for very short ranges. It has to be, absolute line of sight. You have to be antenna to antenna. They're not going through walls. These things have to be like dead on, pointed at each other in order to make the, it's high speed, very, very high speed, but it's very susceptible to rain and a whole bunch of other stuff. So, anyway, we'll see where they go on this, but they're really getting high up in the frequency spectrum. CNN has finally noticed that BuzzFeed does journalism and has snagged a bunch of its talent right here, hot on, getting hot close to the election. They stole a bunch of people away from BuzzFeed, and the BuzzFeed folks aren't happy about it, but they must have thrown a big check at these guys because they didn't even give 2 weeks' notice. They just come in and said, we quit. And he started at CNN today. So BuzzFeed is not happy with the loss, that is for sure. Microsoft has disbanded the Band fitness device. It's pulled from stores. No Band 3 this year. So if you were a fan of the band, I had one for a while and it quit working. Not surprised they pulled the band. A little overwhelming in its operational capabilities. Samsung is basically saying SSDs are essentially at this point are going to be seriously displacing HDDs going forward. Most people are doing internet searches right now are searching on basically how to replace their hard drive spinner with an SSD to basically get more performance out of their current machines without having to upgrade because the performance of the processors haven't advanced that far. So anyway, that's what's going on. Hey, I do want to tell you guys about something. And let me actually show you. So I made the plunge and I picked up the GeForce GTX 1080 video card. I was all excited. I got this on Friday, came in on Friday, and I broke the computer open, got it set up, and then I went to look at the power cord that I had. And I've only got a 6-prong power cord, and I'm like, and it took an 8. And I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? So I started to get on the internet. I'm reading, and so I had to order a 6-prong to an 8-prong adapter, and I have a big enough power supply. Everything says it'll work, but I'm just like, did I just buy, one of the most expensive video cards to only have to potentially send the stupid thing back because my computer can't actually handle it? I'm going to be so disappointed if that's the case. But it could happen, and I'm not buying another computer to build around this card because that's stupid. So I can't win for losing. I really can't. If this card goes in and works, it's going to be awesome. But oh my God, I just couldn't believe it. I really couldn't. All right, I don't care what your politics are, but I got to talk about this, and we're already here close to the end of the show. So the FBI agreed to destroy the laptops of Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's aides who got their immunity deal. Can you believe this? Immunity deals for the 2 top Hillary Clinton aides included a side arrangement obliging the FBI to destroy their laptops after reviewing the devices. Now get this. They weren't allowed to look at any emails that were in the computer later than January 31st of 2015. Oh, and that was the day that it was publicly recognized that she had a server in her house. So this meant that investigators could not review documents for the period after the email server becomes public, in turn preventing the Bureau from discovering that there was any evidence of destruction of justice. Folks, here's what it is. I don't care what your politics are. If this was a Republican that had done this, I would be doing the same freaking thing. There's a double standard. Absolutely a double standard for some people in this country. We can all understand that politics of the presidential nominee. But the aides getting off like this and the FBI destroying the computers, and they actually set a date upon which this deal for those laptops wasn't signed until June 10th, less than a month before FBI Director James Comey announced the agency would recommend no charges be brought on Clinton or her staff. Corruption from within. Absolutely incredible. It makes no sense. I'm just thinking this normal. If it had been any one of us, we'd all be rotting in a jail right now. It's just, I'm just amazed. Just amazed. Someone in the show that's big Clinton fans are going to be saying, oh, Todd, shut the hell up. But if you really objectively look at this, doesn't matter if it was Republican or a Democrat. This is wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. All right, 4chan is running out of money. I got a little 4chan plastic thing back there, but they're struggling. They're having a hard time keeping the servers alive, and I haven't been on 4chan in years, so I'm not sure what's going on over there. But if you're a 4chan fan, they're looking for cash. Also, in news is that final thing tonight is on Uber. Uber just showed us where the future will be when driverless cars take charge. In the town of Summit, it's a suburb of Manhattan, which is a relatively quick 45-minute train ride away. So in other words, this is a suburb 45 minutes from Manhattan. This particular New Jersey town, they had a parking issue at the train station. So what they've done is they've tried to free up 100 parking spaces that basically would save them millions of dollars. So what they've done is they've worked with Uber to pick up 100 people that were parking every day at that parking garage, and they're Ubering them to and from the train station. And they pay their normal parking fee for the actual trip. They pay $4 away with the city subsidizing Uber. The deal will cost the city of Summit an estimated $167,000 annually, but check this out, less than 2% of what it would cost to build a new parking lot. So smart on them. They can to offset this cost for a number of years, to come up with a better plan. Amazing. So it's a real smart deal with Uber. So Uber's people basically picking people up, taking the train station, and it costs them what it costs people to park there, $4 a day. So that's a deal. You don't have to drive. Someone else is driving you. Sign me up for that, for that deal. Of course, I don't live anywhere where there's a train, but it would be brilliant if they ever do that here when we do get our $10 billion train completed. All right, let me see what I've got in email today. And GNC, got to look for the right folder. All right, Kirk, definitely will be reaching out to you. We'll talk some more, and just let me know if you're interested in actually going to CES. It's very, very hard to do data transfers of media. Anyway, we can talk, but anyway, that's it. Brad also had a question for me today. He says, or he'd asked me if does the ICANN transfer affect Blueberry at all? And I said, no effects for Blueberry, but it's going to affect down the road the whole internet. But yet we don't quite know what the effect is going to be. Only time will tell on that. And Darren, haven't forgot about you. And what else? Let's see, what was the last show date? Let me make sure that I'm good here. Not reading stuff I haven't read already. Oh yeah, I can do that. Got it. Oh, I think I already talked about this. The eye bag. Michelle had sent this over. So one of our lady listeners. And Michelle wasn't the one that came to my hotel room those years ago. I don't think the lady that did is a listener of the show anymore. If she's still out there. Sorry to disappoint. Let's hear what else. Yeah, that's it. All right. geeknews@gmail.com is the email address. I'd love to hear from you. Reach out to me on Twitter as well, @geeknews. You can find me on Facebook. Just search for Todd Cochran. Friend me. I'll friend you back. And thanks for being here. Thanks for listening in. And, of course, there'll be one more show here in Honolulu before I head back to the East Coast. Then we'll be audio only for 2 shows. My schedule is going to be absolutely crazy on this second trip. So maybe looking for a substitute guest host for the show yet. I don't 100% know. I'll have to see how it shapes up. But anyway, fly out Saturday night for the East Coast. So here I am sharing where I'm going to be, right? Okay, anyway, that's going to wrap us up for the evening. geeknews@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging with me on a few of you that hung out on Facebook and those that were on YouTube as well. Everyone take care. We'll see you next time here on the Geek News Central podcast. Everyone take care. Bye-bye.